Hi, Shelley.
How you doing, Travis?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
You're not exhausting yourself with all these Zoom meetings?
Yeah, I tell you, I had one last night, so it never ends.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the one I had last night was only like 25 minutes long. I was like, wow, that was quick. Yay.
Oh, you must have been water and sewer board, weren't you?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, we were after you. We were keeping wood beautiful.
Oh, that's funny.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Great.
I can. You're on.
Yes, hello, unmasked woman.
Yeah. I had a cancellation, so I could make it home in time. So
That's
Hey,
not.
good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
yeah.
Hey, Dylan.
Perfect.
Hi, Amy. Hey, David. Hi, Travis.
Hi.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Brad.
Wow, we got a full house. Look at this. That's pretty cool. Shelley, you want to start us out with a little bit of roll call?
Sure, let me get started. Andrea Manion,
Here.
Amy Gallegos,
Here.
Dillon Rai,
Here.
Brad Nixon,
Here.
Travis Ridley,
Here.
Judith Dunlop,
Here.
Nathan Hoag, Steve Paul, David Carroll,
Here.
Rita Russell, and Darren Hollingsworth.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Well, great. Thank you all for attending. Dylan, it's good to see you.
Nice to see everybody. It's good to kind of be on the other end of things finally.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Are things in Swedish going well?
Yeah, we're starting to taper down. We had 90 COVID patients at the height of it, and now we're down to just a couple handfuls now. So we're making good progress, which has been great.
That is super good news. That is real good news. Well, listen, Shelley's always good about keeping me on track, so I better ask if we could see if there's any discussion around the minutes, any changes or corrections.
Nope.
I'll entertain a motion to accept them.
A motion to approve the minutes of January 13th, 2021.
Second.
All righty. And all those in favor, raise their hand. Okay, looks like we got everybody. Okay. With that, couple things. Steve had emailed right before we got on, said he would not be able to attend today, and he would update us on status of his, I guess, where he's at with being able to be on ACE with his current job situation that he has. So we'll know more about that, I think, come next week. I did want to ask Darren, do we have any updates on Rita? We haven't seen her for a couple meetings. I'm kind of missing her, not feeling the love from Rita. So is there anything that we should know?
I have not heard anything from Councilmember Russell at all regarding her attendance on ACE. So no news from Councilmember Russell.
Okay. All right. Well, should you run by her, or I guess anybody on the board run by her, just tell her we miss her and would love to have her be part of what we're trying to put together. So I put together a few, let me make sure I'm going here in order. I put together a few items that came from I thought maybe I had put some from last year's agenda. Apparently, I only put my ideas for next year's agenda on there for ideas, but just kind of wanted to have a little bit of discussion about this. And before we get kicked off, I want to let you know that I mistakenly scheduled my blood donation for today. So I've got about 45 minutes for discussion and kind of surfacing some ideas that we would like to focus on the remainder of this year. And then I've got to step out at about 4:15 to go get my blood done. I get blood every couple months with my wife. So believe it or not, they're kind of hard slots to get scheduled ahead of time. So I didn't want to give it up. In any case, can we talk about this and kind of go through it? Let me see if I can find my 2020 notes while we're talking about this. But I just put up a few things there. Does any of that were in the agenda notes, hit any chords with anybody? What do you guys think? Everyone's real talkative, huh? And here's, I guess here's kind of an overriding thought, to begin this with, and that is, I'd really like to see ACE be, a vital part of helping the business community in Englewood. And I would like to think that all of us have some ideas how we can actually help local businesses in Englewood thrive, help attract other people to Englewood to participate in the business community, whether it be home-based business, whether it be small or large businesses. I think, just across the board. And with that said, I just, I want to make certain that we also recognize that we've got a very healthy and vibrant Englewood City Council, Englewood Chamber that does a great job at David's hand. And I think the board has some great ideas over there too. So it's not in an effort to compete with them. It's really in an effort to each of us come alongside of each other and to continue to help promote the ideas and doing business and thriving in the Englewood area. So whatever, really, I mean, these are just some of my ideas. I would love to hear some things from you all, what you feel like would be good things for us to surface to council, publicly make people aware of, things that we can do to advance business causes. Anybody at all?
Yeah, Brad.
Brad, I'm having trouble pulling it up. I looked at it the other day. Can you just read through some of them real quick? That might help what you have on there.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. And it's, maybe Darren or Shelley can give us the web address where it's at. It seems like I always have to go look for it but they're actually out there. So really some of my thoughts were, I think while we're still kind of locked down, the city is saying we need to do these Zoom meetings. I thought maybe we could get a little bit more creative with doing, Zoom virtual tours. Somebody, Amy or somebody brought that up last week, and last meeting we had, and I thought that was a great idea for us to be able to do that. That kind of keeps us in the business world with the rest of the people. And my thought was to maybe see if warming trends, if that would be a possibility. I know they're fairly new in the Englewood area. I would love to see their manufacturing facility. I know that there's some things that we would love to be able to get started with them. So I thought maybe that might be a good introduction for us to get going on that. But do that for a short while until we all kind of get released from jail and we can get out and start meeting with people, be it doing walking tours or be it us getting together. One of the other thoughts was, coming up with some questions like we had before. I think we have a good list of questions, but maybe adding to them. Let's not be static here. Let's be dynamic with the questions we have. So I offered up a few ideas of some things. What can we do to help? Highlight how you're able to how you've been able to survive during COVID. What keeps you up at night? I love to ask people what keeps them up at night. I think that surfaces a lot of things that they wish they could accomplish or that they would like to take advantage of. As soon as we can get out, I had the opportunity to sit on a panel discussion with Andy at the filling station, which is a tap house over in, it's behind the Gothic, I guess. I thought maybe we all could, with his help, maybe, go into that neighborhood and have kind of our meeting there like we did at Grow and Gather right before all this hoopla started last year, and do that over at his place and see if we can get some neighbors in that area to come in and talk to us about what's going on. And then Andy can show us around and maybe that helps promote his business a little bit. So that was a thought there. For an offsite meeting. We talked a little bit about participating in the block party to just have an opportunity to speak with other businesses and business people as well as citizens at that opportunity. Maybe even do a little bit of recruiting into board positions. So small, medium-sized businesses and home business issue forum. Here again, I don't know if there's something that the chamber is going to try to do. We don't want to take away from that, but if not, there are some wage change issues that have come up in neighboring municipalities, as well as potential future changes in state wages. Englewood business registration, how many businesses know what they need to file, register for. Sick leave, health insurance, I know there's some family leave, medical leave stuff that has changed. These are things that people need to know about, what kind of COVID resources they have still that are available. I think that would be something that people would like to hear about. Is there a way that we can help do that? Small business week as well as small business day. Whatever we can do, the first week of May and the Saturday after Thanksgiving, I think we need to do, even if it's as simple as getting some proclamation from City Council that designates the day and maybe strategically picking a spot where that thing's read from. I know, did I put it in here? Yeah, core consultants. So, I'm assuming they'll be moved in by May. I don't know if Darren knows anything differently about that, but if they're moved in by May, have somebody from council go over there and read it there and make sure that the media knows that, that we'll be reading something like that, and maybe do a launch with something that the chamber's got going, or other, the restaurant group that Grow and Gather kind of put together, anything. So those were the kind of the ideas and thoughts. I didn't spend a great deal of time on this. So if you don't like any of them, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I just kind of wanted to prime the pump to get some thoughts going.
Hey, Brad, I'll add to that and kind of the ACE focus ideas. I think one of them might be, and I don't know how much work we're putting into this right now. You guys can maybe educate me on this, but are we working with organizations like 5280 or different publications, articles, things like that, that really highlight the change in what's happening in Englewood right now? It feels like even over the last 3 years, there's been an incredible amount of both investment, but development in Englewood as a whole that I think a lot of people might miss if they think about Englewood and what it might have been like 10 years ago or whatever time frame you're looking at. I mean, just in the last 3 years that I've been a part of this community, I've watched so many different housing units pop up, but also different nightlife options like the filling station and things that might bring a different tone, I'd say, to Englewood than what it traditionally might have had in the past. And if I'm thinking about what the it factor of Englewood would be, you've got kind of a piece of the suburbs, but also a piece of the city kind of meshed together. And how do we tell that story in a way where we say, look, we've got South Broadway, we've got a park, we've got a golf course, we've got some really neat things that you can exploit here that are potentially within walking distance of your home in a new and fun way, especially right now when you look at like mortgages, housing, everything like that. There's such a dearth in what's available out in the community. And I pulled up Zillow just to take a look, and there's a significant amount of opportunity for people to move into the Englewood area and call that their home as well, and help prop up some economic development as well. So just a thought as I'm thinking about Englewood as a whole and how it's kind of attracted businesses and it's attracting people, and how to really capitalize on that and the good stuff that's happening here.
I love that idea. If there's a way that we could, maybe do a more PR effort to bring light to some things that are going on. That has always been one of my questions when we do anything, is how to, to get people to take note, even if it's just a, radio station or television station for the event value.
And Brad, if I could, I have an appointment at 4, so I have to go as well, but just 2 things that might help with that from the chamber. If you want to look at, our programming as well. One, when you're talking about the new labor laws or wage concern, adjustments in wages and things like that, I'll send you all what we call one of our idea labs, where we did have one of our HR businesses talk a little bit about all the new labor laws that were going into effect, just to get an idea of what that looks like. And then we could take some of the ideas that you have and fold them into the idea lab format, if you like that. And then to Dillon's point, we have this other program called a Thought Co-op that I know it doesn't directly hit what you're talking about, but what often happens, and it's a presentation of bigger ideas, and so that idea you could subset nightlife in Englewood and highlight and have a panel or do something. I don't know, however we could figure that out, but we often have folks from the press and media there that often then that turns into them reaching back out to us and writing articles related to whatever subject that might be. So if you broke that into new housing opportunities, like you were saying, Dillon, or new nightlife opportunities, we could maybe put a panel and talk about some of the things in Englewood, invite the press there, and then that gives them a little bit of a story idea as well. So just 2 ideas from us that we could be helpful if you'd like.
I think these goals and ideas look really good, Brad. I think it covered everything we talked about from last meeting, what we were kind of wanting to do. I agree with you with getting more like promotional things done if we could, like for Small Business Week or Small Business Saturday. Maybe for Small Business Week, we could do something in the Englewood magazine, you know, similar to what we did for Small Business Saturday, where we just have a map and just kind of list all of our small businesses in Englewood for people to check out, because especially with all the changes, you know, there's new businesses, there's maybe businesses not around anymore. So I think that would be a good update for people to see, like, oh, what is there that I could go check out to help small businesses in Englewood. So we could have like a map or something like we did in the Englewood magazine last time, just showing, you know, where the businesses are, their names and stuff like that. That I think that would be great. Or even just on the Englewood website somewhere to show that. And maybe I know we kind of talked about last meeting too, maybe getting like a video if we could tap into that resource, because I know Englewood has made like great videos kind of highlighting businesses, and maybe we could just get a video out too of just, you know, showing certain businesses in the areas, especially new ones out there to support.
Darren, is there any chance that we can get a little bit of ink in the Citizen?
I can't speak about the Citizen, but I really like the idea of the videos. I know the Citizen has a long lead time, really long lead time. And it's programmed pretty heavily. And this can be proposed to the to go into the Citizen. And one thought there is the videos. If there are businesses to profile within the videos, and you all have specific businesses to recommend, I think that would be beneficial to know who should be profiled and why, but not build an expectation that we have the capacity. We can do a few of those, not a ton, but we're trying to get some businesses in line to do small business profiles for videos. So if there are a few businesses to profile and why they're significant, usually there's some theme behind it. There's some reason to profile a business that's going to have a video attached to it. We've tied them to businesses that have participated with the grant programs, or businesses that are on the move, having some new investment or expanding. And there's a business that's going to be featured in the, or a series of businesses that'll be featured in the upcoming Citizen magazine. Again, took a long lead time to get there, but it's a new Englewood business, and this business has some gravitational pull in that they brought in 2 additional businesses into the neighborhood as a result of them being there. So that'll be kind of fun to see. But if Ace has any specific recommendations for videos to shoot, and you know who and why, that would be very helpful.
And Brad, if I just might add really quick, I know I mentioned print media or media in general, but even if we'd be able to interface potentially with organizations like the Denver Metro Association of Realtors, folks that are kind of the ones that are steering the traffic, and the same thing on the business side. If they're kind of key stakeholders that we could potentially engage with and say, here's our pitch for why Englewood is special, or why you should really try to take your clients around Englewood. You kind of view economic development in 2 buckets, right? You have the people that buy the stuff, and you have the people that sell the stuff, and attracting the businesses and the people into Englewood and trying to kind of leverage whoever's the driver of those businesses might be interesting. And I know that a lot of times we look at spending money, but there might be some cool opportunities with the people that we have connections with that we can leverage at city council and so on, that could interface with these folks and help drive something towards us.
That's a good idea too. And I was thinking, what would we have to do to get maybe the Englewood Herald to like post something on Small Business Week and just like publish a map of small businesses in Englewood? Like, I don't know what the city's relationship is with Englewood Herald, or if we'd have to pay for that kind of article.
Well, my suspicion is that it's just a regular print media publication, so we certainly can call them and say, hey, we'd love to talk with one of your reporters and see what they might come up with.
I vaguely remember, what was it, last year or the year before, didn't Englewood have a media company that they were working with for promotion?
We have a pretty robust communications team,
Is that,
very robust communications team, and the media companies that we're working with help put together the Citizen magazine and push out press releases and things of that nature.
and can we put that on our, list of to-dos for 2020, reaching out to organizations like Dillon mentioned through using the communication department? Trying to tie those things together.
Absolutely.
Well, hi, Rita.
Well, hi, sorry I'm a little late, and then I had a few computer problems. Actually, I do think that we do have a reporter that from the Englewood Herald that works for, and I forget who it is. It used to be Ellis Arnold, but we have someone new. Do you know who it is, Darren? I can't remember offhand. And I know David Gilbert from, I think it's David, not Scott, from the Littleton Independent also is somebody that we could maybe talk to.
David Gilbert's done a lot, covered Englewood quite a bit, and I remember speaking to him on several articles. So he's focused on Englewood.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be great if we could get more press releases out just to highlight and support these businesses.
Speaking of which, Darren, what does the city, or is there some portion of the city that does any PR when, quite honestly, any business, I guess, moves into the city, or does it just have to be a large employer moves to the city?
Not necessarily. The business that you'll see profiled, I see Nathan has joined us. Hello, Nathan.
I've been here. Sorry, I just realized my camera wasn't on.
Oh, sorry, Nathan. Good to see you. So we do have the communications team does that. And I really hope that every ACE member signed up for the city's LinkedIn page and Facebook and on the other social media channels through Twitter. There have been a series of videos that have been excellent that have been put out on the shopping local component, as well as the staycation, getting a series of businesses, promoting specific businesses to say, go here for lunch, go here for entertainment, and while you're at it, go out and go to the city golf course and that kind of thing. Go to Parks and Rec. The recreation center's open. That kind of thing. It was excellent. We also have profiled businesses that have participated in the grant program with videos. So, and we do press releases on those. But more often than not, we're seeing the stories being picked up on some of the social media that we're pushing out, and they're picking up on those stories. And the news just picked up, News 7, I believe, just picked up a story about Englewood's grant initiative, the startup grants, and they did a little piece on that. So there was some pieces on the various grants through COVID recovery, and each one of those, they profile the city side, which is the grant, and they interview a business owner or two that have taken advantage of those grant programs. We did one for the outdoor heaters for restaurants, and several businesses are profiled there. So great idea, Amy. Excuse me, Andrea and Amy.
Yeah, the Englewood grants have been great. And I also wanted to throw out that maybe we should do another survey perhaps, because I think the first one was very successful, and just being able to, contact those that wanted to be contacted, I think really helped them a lot. I know the one I had, and I wanted to share with you guys, Jamie Maddox, the owner of Zoe's. So she was on, assigned to me to call because she wanted to be contacted, and she was wondering about resources for grants and loans and stuff like that to help her float her business. And so, the Englewood page helped me a lot. I send her a lot of the grants. And then when that second Arapahoe County grant became available, I emailed her that, and she emailed it back and said, "Oh, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for all the help. You saved me the last time, and I've already applied for these other grants. So thank you so much." So she's very appreciative And I think that went a long way. So I don't know, maybe we do like another follow-up survey thing just to see how people are doing, or if there's anything else that we could help them with, and contact them that way too.
Is there some information that the city or council needs that is not readily at your fingertips that maybe we could help in that way?
You know, I would rely on ACE or others to chime in to say what some city needs are. Right now, the comments that I'm hearing from businesses are wanting to understand the specifics around the health orders with the recent changes and what that means now that there can be some ramp up in occupancy. So I think businesses want to understand what that means. That's not a city voice there. There's a city resource sharing out information about what Tri-County Health allows and what's allowed. And Tri-County Health has done an excellent job when you've got the health professionals sharing out what type of information businesses need, like, and responding to specific questions there. What can a bar have for occupancy? How do you count outdoor seating? All these various factors that businesses need to know. And the city's role in communicating that out is through, sharing that out through our various channels.
And we need to still present to council the results from the first survey, correct? I forgot where we are on that.
We got stood up. The meeting got canceled, so a little bit of that information was time sensitive, but pretty much all of it, I guess. I'm not certain there's value in going back there. I mean, that's my opinion. You guys don't have to share that, but I would suggest not going back unless there's a reason to. I think the survey got sent to them, and I think the survey, got a little bit of traction and went to South Metro, SBA, didn't it? SPDC or something also, and some other places. So the information did get shared. I like the survey idea. If there's some, I think, important things that we can follow through on. I guess listening about the, restaurant stuff. I mean, I don't know if there's something that maybe Tri-County Health could help us with. Maybe there's some things that they need, need some feedback, and then we can maybe, go out to the business community and get a little bit of feedback, to help them as well as help the businesses. It has been changing a lot here, especially for the last, I would say, 3 weeks or so. Since Governor Polis kind of kicked things off and said, let's, drop down a level. I think a lot of things have been changing. The 5-star initiative for people to be able to, drop down another level and get more occupancy. There's a lot of things that are out there.
So we just shared out a survey that was put together by Tri-County Health Department about their need to gather information from restaurants and bars for their, they do a weekly call and they want more participation in those weekly calls. So they're surveying area restaurants and bars to find out what's a better time. They were doing it Monday mornings from 9 to 10:30, that kind of thing, or 9:30 to 10:30. They're trying to find if there's a better time. We've also suggested that they take a look at maybe offering those as a streaming after the fact. So businesses can go back and watch it at their convenience. So that's out there. We're pushing that out. Surveys are kind of touchy because a lot of businesses are being surveyed from a bunch of different groups right now. So that's a tool to use. Use it with precision and sparingly. Ask important questions, in other words. If there's an important question to answer, ask, let's do it. But be very sparing in going out to the businesses because I think they're getting overwhelmed. I know that Manufacturers Edge is doing a survey of manufacturers. We're trying to help with that, but they're doing the survey firsthand with primary data. They're actually calling the manufacturers, which I think is far more effective than saying, here's a blank, or here's an email to, info@whateverbusiness.com. They're calling these businesses firsthand to create a relationship and doing the survey over the phone. Good tool, but if it's time, we can certainly deploy that.
I would second that. I'm getting surveyed a lot right now. That's good.
So Darren, are you attending those meetings with Tri-County Health and the businesses?
That's offered through the reopening committee, and as schedule allows, yes. We also attend yes, we do attend those.
So are they well attended or not so much?
They tend to be well attended. Right now, I don't know how often they've missed a couple with the most recent go round, because I think that they're looking to get a better time for businesses. But the nice thing is when they host those meetings, they'll answer very specific questions. So name the business. If they have a specific question, they'll have an answer. So the staff is very approachable there. But yes, they have, attendance has waned a little bit.
Okay, so if we get that information out about their willingness to answer specific questions, that would probably be helpful, maybe, and encourage people to take time.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm just kind of looking through the months and seeing what we could maybe kind of pencil in on some of these things. Is it possible, Darren, for us to get a March virtual tour at Warming Trends?
So I was intentionally not saying anything about, we're looking to have an event in Warming Trends in October for Manufacturers Day. And I want to use their generosity sparingly. And we would like to actually physically have an event there this October. They've agreed to do that last year. And obviously COVID hit and we could not do that, but we want to have a Manufacturers Day celebration there and really tout Warming Trends as a success, because that was a business retention effort to keep them in Englewood. They actually were down on Santa Fe Circle to be exact. They were looking for space and casting around, looking at locations, and we were able to provide them listings, and they found this particular location in the old Sports Authority site. So Brad, that's a long way of saying, let's do something in October. And if anybody has any suggestions or a relationship with a business, or even an ACE member wants to host something at their place, let's do something like that. But Warming Trends out, that's just the one business I would say, let's get them in October.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'm looking for ideas. I mean, I would say maybe if we come up with a couple, 3 ideas for some virtual tours that we can plug in over the next couple, 3 months of businesses that might be able to give us a little bit of insight, what's going on, what things are going well, what's not going well. I mean, even Warming Trends neighbor, Earth Treks, to hear from them, how are things going in the gym? What's membership been like, et cetera. I mean, if there's any feedback about, the potential development out in front of them that we wanted to solicit from them. I mean, that might be another one that we could maybe plug in next month to, figure that out. But things like that, we don't ever talk about the businesses off of Federal and in the Bellevue area and stuff. And, we should probably spread the love around a little bit and think more broadly, not just customer facing, kind of retail establishments, but other things.
That's why Lottie Coffee, I don't know if I said it right, came into my head, because aren't they 2 types of businesses? They're retail, and don't they also do some manufacturing on that other side?
Yeah.
And so granted, it doesn't get us down to Federal, which I agree with. We should really, try to do some stuff down there, but at least they have 2 components to the business that we could maybe talk about.
I like that.
Are there any other like brand new businesses that open that aren't on Broadway that anyone knows about?
What's going on at the development off of Bellevue? Are there new businesses that are going in there, or are they just doing that at spec?
Bellevue and Broadway, is that where we are? Or Bellevue and
Yeah,
Federal?
Bellevue and Broadway.
Bellevue and Broadway, there's the Choose Fitness down there.
Well, and
and
they're developing right next to Choose also. Is that spec work, or is it something that's going in?
That's tenant finish for cubes. I think the storage unit, whatever that is, the interior storage, that's tenant finish for that particular use. But they're also building out some spec space, some smaller I'm going to say chopped up, but still large for Englewood, 12 to 15, 18,000 square feet spec space. So no specific user at this time.
Well, I certainly can, make some phone calls if it works out best. I can call somebody at Earth Trex. I can call somebody at Pilates to see if we can line something up for, at least one of the next 2 months. What other thoughts have we got here?
I had a question, Brad. You mentioned there's a restaurant group or someone from Grow and Gather actually put a group together. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, whatever you know?
I absolutely know nothing. I'm just parroting what David had said last week and, caught a glimmer of the website someplace. Maybe Nathan, I think, Nathan had some info on it, so maybe he can tell us.
I don't, nothing official, unfortunately.
That's a great idea. Maybe we can, find out what their goals and objectives are and see if there's anything we can do to help them.
Yeah, a while back, when we had the Peace Cellar and some of the others that, were getting together, and then there was a health issue and that kind of broke up. I would imagine that restaurateurs really have a lot to talk about these days. And if someone has, kind of gathered a group of people or a few together, maybe getting some real good information from what they're feeling, some of these questions as well, or the feedback that they've gotten might be kind of interesting.
I was also just thinking of Apex Combat Academy, their martial arts school. I know Austin, he's actually a client of mine. And so he's right in Englewood there off of Mariposa. And that might be kind of neat. He'd probably give us a tour of like his little gym and things he's got going on there. And I could easily reach out to him too. So.
Rita, is there some areas that you guys in council have any sensitivities to that you want more information about?
We haven't really talked about that at all, so not off of the top of my head.
Okay.
I've kind of been thinking through different areas of Englewood, trying to come up with something right now, but I can't think of anything right off the top of my head.
Darren, the developer for the apartments and mixed use development right on where the Hilltop used to be, Don, can't think of his name. I mean, would he be somebody, if I recall, he's a little bit long-winded, but maybe, he can tell us a little bit about what he's trying to accomplish over there.
Don Krakowski, absolutely. I feel very fortunate every time I talk to him because he's very tough to get a hold of. He's got a really good thing cooking there. He's got a new tenant signed up for ground floor, and it will be a new restaurant in Englewood. They're applying for a liquor license right now. There are 4 spaces downstairs, and he's combining 3 of the spaces together to form this restaurant. And then he's got 8 apartments upstairs, so 4 on each level.
Which property are you talking about, Darren? Sorry, I missed that.
The old Hilltop Hotel site It's
Yeah.
3800 South Broadway. That's been a long time coming. In terms of it's taken a little bit to get out of the ground. And
It stopped construction entirely for a while, didn't it?
fits and starts, yes.
And then now it's kind of bad. It looks like it's almost done. So it's good to know what's going in there.
And I think that was largely tenant driven. Having a tenant drove that a little faster. So once you have that steam, it drove it a little bit faster. If we need to, I'd be happy to touch base with Don Krakowski to see if he would be happy to chime in at ACE as a guest, as an upcoming guest. Site, I don't know if we go on site with a walking tour on site, or if he chimes in like the gentleman from the motorcycle shop last ACE meeting. But Don,
Well, I would love to get out. Let me just throw that out. I mean, this Zoom stuff, I love seeing you guys. Nothing against seeing you in your homes or whatever backdrop you've got there. That's great, but I would love to get out. So if he would do a virtual or a real tour for us there, without falling through a staircase or something like that, I'd love that.
we'll see what we can put together for these. I do know we did mention this to the larger group that so the ACE is a public body, a commission. So any of these meetings are public meetings, and we would need to have accommodations for public. And right now that represents having some level of a Zoom interface if someone wanted to speak in a public type of capacity and attend the meeting and speak. So we would want to make, regardless of which location, if it was at filling station or at doing a physical tour, we'd want to make sure there's accommodations for the public and record the meeting, et cetera. We did this when ACE had a meeting at Grow and Gather, and it worked out really well. That was pre-COVID, so we didn't have the Zoom capability at that time, but it worked out great and it was noticed properly. So if we wanted to have an off-site meeting when the conditions allow, absolutely.
I was pre-COVID by 48 hours. I was right. And
Yeah. I need to step out. I am really sorry. If you guys could maybe pencil in some stuff for the next, 8-9 months or something like that, I think that would be great. I'll volunteer already, to see if I can reach out to Earth Treks, Kaladi Coffee. I'll even reach out to the filling station, see if we can get some FaceTime over there. And if there's others that want to do likewise, I would love to fill in the blanks here. I operate personally on trying to be intentional with my time and my efforts. And I would like to think that this body, this group can do the same thing. So what are the things that we want to actually achieve and accomplish? So getting some of these virtual tours and real tours in to hear the voice of the businesses in the city, I think is helpful. It was very helpful for, I think, council last time we kind of made a commitment to it, and I'd like to do it again. With that said, Judy, I'll let you kind of drive things, but let's get things put in there. And I won't pass out on the table. Don't worry about that. I get blood often enough that it's I race my wife to see who can fill the bag the quickest and drain your arm. So have fun, all. Take care.
so, Andrea, I don't remember, but isn't Small Business Week in May?
Yeah, it's the first week of May.
So can we try to put in for May to maybe do that tour? And will that give us enough time to make it Zoom ready in the capacity that Darren was just speaking about, to reach that regulation for having public attendance? And maybe see if we can go there in May. Hopefully it would be warm enough. And it's a new multi-use space in Englewood. It might be a great thing for us to do in May.
What area are you talking about, Amy?
What they were just discussing, the place that's being built on Broadway.
Oh, uh-huh.
That Darren can reach out to.
Well, it may be a construction site still, given the fact that the fact that it's a restaurant, so that they may be under construction. So if nothing else, inviting the developer to attend an ACE meeting and do something along those lines, we could certainly do that. His name is Don Krakowski. And it would be a great introduction for him to hear that ACE and the business community are excited about his investment in Englewood and his tenant that he's bringing to town.
It's Krakowski?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Darren, would you have any other suggestions for a virtual tour that we could schedule pretty quickly? Anyone you could think of that we haven't contacted?
What I would think would be beneficial would be laying out a framework of who you want to meet with and kind of why. Because otherwise I'd just be throwing a dart at a dartboard. There's 2,600 businesses in Englewood, and every one of them is pretty in my eyes, if you know what I mean. So if we had a framework of who to go after and make these asks, that makes it a whole lot easier. And it's very viable. I mean, Don just recently, he's putting money in Englewood today. So that's a great suggestion to have Don, invite Don to an upcoming ACE meeting, or get out and see his space. I don't know what sort of conditions will exist in May and when the restaurant's going to open up, but that's a great suggestion.
I vaguely remember we were talking about doing one of our walking tours on that federal Bellevue area at one point. Can we try to make that a goal for June? Because if we can't go in, we send out invitations to the area. Can't we say we're going to be in your area? Meet us at your front door. Kind of walk that strip mall that day, the way we did the location just south of Hamden last year.
That works, absolutely. I mean, I certainly don't want to drive this conversation for ACE. This is ACE's discussion around where you would like to see investing your time in doing a walking tour. But as Mr. Nixon said, it feels to him like it sounded like it was a little bit of a forgotten area that we haven't focused on. So that would make a lot of sense to get out and do that. In advance of doing something like that, we would be happy to put together a flyer and walk the area in advance of ACE going by, just like we did the last go round, and let businesses know that ACE would be in the area. So I don't want to suggest an area because I think that's not staff's role necessarily, but getting out and setting the stage so that ACE can come in and have a successful interaction, that's a role that we would absolutely play.
I'd like to second that too.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think we have enough people. If we have enough with ACE together, we could break into two groups and do just north of King Soopers there, and then the corner, the exact corner of Bellevue and Broadway, and have two groups go and then decide where to meet up and compare notes or whatever.
Yeah, and I just think that if we look towards June, you know, with all of the regulations, and if things if things tighten up again, at least then we can maybe step outside with them into their front area.
Does anyone know if there are some new businesses on South Broadway on the east side of the street, just south of Quincy? I know. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I should let you finish. I don't know about any south of Quincy.
What used to be the kind of little farmer's market or something on the corner. Then it seemed like there was something else in the middle of I don't get out too much. So I thought I saw something in the middle of the block. And I know we talked about, those, some of those businesses that recognize that the focus is usually on downtown area and not in that area. Are you aware of any of those, Darren?
I am aware of a business that opened up last year that's in that neighborhood. It's a piece store right on the corner in the farmer's market, and she was actually a subtenant of that space. She leased a small corner of the space. She did so well. She said the farmer's market was on the fence as far as staying in. She said she was doing so well. She saw the opportunity and expanded her business into that, and she's really doing great. you know, if there's an area to focus on Broadway, that's a compact little area and there's a lot of activity. So does that make sense to get into that neighborhood? Yeah, maybe that's a great area to get into as well. There's another business that I noticed, a new sign going up on Broadway. I didn't recognize the business there. And it was the gentleman that had the motorcycle shop and came in to speak at ACE last meeting. It was about 4 or 5 doors up from him in that block. A new business that I didn't recognize the sign. I think it's a new solar company. They're selling solar panels for residential and commercial, and it's kind of an office for them, the sales office and commercial presence there. You know, they're not operating a big construction company out of there. They just have a small office so that people can come in and sign up for solar panels for their house. So I think that's what that user is.
Okay.
Well, doesn't this discussion kind of answer our question? We don't know what's going on in that area, so we should go.
I think it's a great idea. Just do some recon work in that area.
Has anything been happening with the barn house? I guess probably because of everything. Do they own that whole spot on the corner?
They do.
Hmm.
They've been fairly quiet on their, from what I can tell, at least their social media channels and whatnot. So I actually don't know. I haven't heard much from them. As far as I know, they're still there. I mean, I've driven by a few times. They look like they've had people in and out, but that would be a good one to check in on and just see how they're doing.
So when should we do that? When should we do that? Because aren't we trying to list things for meetings?
Did you want to discuss a March agenda? I know we're talking about May and June. March and April, I guess.
Gonna have to be the virtual stuff, right? Because we're not gonna really be able to go anywhere. So
Are there any contacts from the, with regard to the survey? Maybe Darren, if you know, of businesses that were responsive to it, that they might want to participate in something like this?
You know, my memory is, and this was what, December timeframe that we got the survey back. There were some businesses that asked for follow-up, and we followed up with those businesses. And we didn't tease out that question of, do you want to have any kind of tour of your facility?
Right.
We didn't tease that out. Or, you know, do we want to get ACE into your neighborhood for a visitation of any kind?
But we could probably tell by looking at the responses, like maybe what the top 5 were in response, or looking for a follow-up.
Sure. You know, I don't, again, that would be Darren, staff picking businesses to tour.
Just looking at the list, I mean, if there
we could do that. We could look at the list.
Yes.
We could look at the list and see if there's any obvious businesses to set up for a tour of some sort. But recognize that was not the intent of that particular survey. It was looking at COVID impacts for their businesses, impacts of COVID on their businesses. I like the framework you're creating about looking at compact areas, businesses that are concentrated in an area that's new, like that area south of Quincy. That's a really nice area to get into and cover east and west side of the streets. And there's a number of businesses to pop into there. And also at Bellevue and Federal, that's an area that hasn't really, you know, been touched. And I think that the merchants in that neighborhood might have a great level of appreciation for ACE stopping by to say thank you for doing business in Englewood. And ACE last time passed out a resource flyer, as well as a flyer on what ACE does. And so both of those areas would seem to me to be right for that kind of an interaction.
Do you know what's going in where the old McDonald's was? I see they're really tearing that up.
I think I heard through the grapevine that might be a Starbucks.
Huh.
They've got great east-west traffic there for the AM,
Hmm.
and I think it's going to be a Starbucks.
Whoops.
Since we are gonna have to, the next couple of months, because we don't really have any idea what's gonna happen, could we maybe circle back around and talk about promotion of Englewood as a whole and some of the things that Dillon brought up? Can we potentially circle back around and talk about that in April on our April meeting?
Who is the contact at communications department, Darren?
I was unmuted anyway, sorry. That'd be Chris Hargath is our director of communications. He's got a great team. So kind of depends on the topic that we want to discuss.
Right.
But Chris Hargath is our director there.
And what about also, Darren, you would know the owner of that Brook Ridge Shopping Center, where that Starbucks is going in, maybe it might be kind of fun to have him come and speak to the ACE committee. He has owned that area since the 70s, I think. And I mean, I met with him one time and just talked about his strategy about he leaves a certain amount of it vacant all the time, waiting for the right person to come in. I think he might be an interesting person to have come and talk to us.
Hmm.
Mr. David Spriggs, absolutely. Actually, suggestions like that are you'll get some information about what they're seeing as far as demand for tenant spaces, who's new and who's fresh, and who's looking at Englewood that they may not be able to sign a deal with. So that's actually very timely to talk to developers and investors like that have money planted in Englewood and are looking to attract tenants. That's a great idea.
Along that line, who is going in with the old Burger King there on Chenango and Broadway?
I do know that it's under contract. They put that fence up, contract to sell. They put that fence up to handle graffiti and vagrant issues.
Right.
That I was hoping that was more driven for the tenant driven, but it's not tenant driven at this time. But it's under contract to sell, so it's got a tentative closing sometime in May.
Okay. Well, if we,
do we want to focus the Quincy area and the federal area as actual, walking tours where we try to physically be there later on then?
Later on, like
when we can get out, in the summer when things are a little better, hopefully.
that's why I was hoping for May and June, because even if we can't, at least we can see them outside.
Okay, so do we want to try to plan a virtual tour before then with someone? And then who should that be? Like,
if I can find my list, the one gal of the restaurant bar that I spoke with she has several of them in the Denver, Aurora. I'm not sure if she has one in Lakewood or not, but in Englewood. And she said by far she had the best reception from Englewood, from the city of Englewood, from the processes to get the loans or the grant money. And if we needed anything from her, she was open to that. I just don't have the paperwork right in front of me. But I would guess she might be somebody willing to do, at the very minimum, a virtual tour. I can try and reach her if I can pull up my paperwork.
That sounds great.
And then when would you like me to ask for that? For April or if I can push it for March, I can, but do we have something for March?
No, we don't have something for March. So I think Brad was trying to get warming trends, but we decided we're doing that in October. So if we can do March, I say we do March. If not, April would be great too. I think we should try to get one virtual one in there before summertime when we try to actually get out.
All right, well, I'll try and do that, and I'll get a hold of Brad as soon as I can when I've spoken to her.
The thing with March, if we really are thinking about doing something with the business week, then that's kind of a 2-month lead in. And I don't know, is that mid-May, Darren, the business week?
It's going to be the first week of May.
Okay.
So Monday, I want to say May 3rd. We're working on doing a workshop for that and proposing a proclamation, just as as Chair Nixon suggested, to have a proclamation to support that. I would like to have a draft proclamation to you in advance of that so that ACE can just provide any feedback on the proclamation before it goes in to City Council for consideration. That would be nice to have ACE's endorsement of a proclamation for Small Business Week, which is in May 3rd.
Could that be done in March meeting?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
we can do that. I try to keep the whereases to kind of 3 to 5, closer to 3 than 5. Otherwise, it gets really long-winded to kind of step through that. Just an appreciation of council's time. So when we review this, I try to keep that in mind without a lot of strung on stuff. But what we're going to do is propose a proclamation Monday evening, and then hopefully get something together for Tuesday or Wednesday morning to do a virtual event and have some economic partners participate in that virtual event, and maybe some lenders and the SBA and others. The night of the council meeting, we might, of the 3rd, I believe it's 3rd of May, we may have a representative from the SBA in attendance. I'll try to get that in the hopper. I want to make a big deal out of it, in other words, because our small businesses are such a huge part of our local economy.
So Judy, where do we stand in our agenda? Do we have some things lined out for the months?
Well, so far for March, perhaps this draft of the proclamation, and maybe thinking about your suggestion on advertising or promotion marketing. Maybe if we could get Chris, is it Hargeth? Is it Hargeth? Maybe concentrating on that in March, the more advertising marketing stuff, because there's always, as you say, like with the Citizen, there's so much lead time needed. That would give us a little bit of time to start looking at what's possible. And I guess everybody kind of brainstorm what that would be, and maybe providing that of what we would want to ask Chris. April, if Drevis is able to put together a virtual tour with, is this a business in Englewood, did you say, Drevis?
Yes, it's a restaurant bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. On Broadway, South Broadway.
Okay. So maybe that's a potential virtual tour. May then is the business week. So I guess actually we'd be meeting after that, since that's the first week of May. But you also suggested maybe depending upon the weather and where we're at, May and June could be some walking tours. Is that correct?
And then since it's going to be hot again in July, could we maybe think about that developer from the Brookridge Center? I think that'd be a really interesting conversation. If he's up to it.
This is the spot on Broadway, the mixed use? Okay,
It's the Bellevue and Broadway, Brookridge Shopping Center. David Spriggs is,
oh,
is
yeah,
that what you were thinking, Amy?
Yeah, yeah, and then, but that does mean that that spot on Broadway that we talked about earlier, we, the new mixed use place we don't have on the agenda, right? We need to-
right. Mr. Krakowski. So maybe, since you said, Darren, he's busy and hard to contact, maybe trying to set something up, giving him, I guess, couple months, several months lead in or something like that might be something. And then they're moving along as well. Is that is he from Colorado, Colorado Corporation, or is
He
this
is,
out of state?
he used to travel extensively, but he is Colorado based.
Okay, that's nice. And that the Quincy area, and especially the Barnhouse people, they've always really been pretty open and were well spoken at the time about their ideas, and maybe just to kind of see what we can put together with that block, then maybe that in June, that whole block, Quincy area. Nathan, is it Sacred Heart? I'm sorry, I forgot. The center, is that still functioning there in that block?
That's a good question. I actually been meaning to touch base with them because so they're technically a part of Change the Trend,
Right.
which I have a call with every Thursday, and they haven't been present on that in a while. But I did touch base with somebody, Tim Nichols, who was kind of involved with them in recently, and he said that they're still around and they're still doing something, but I don't know exactly what that looks like right now. So I don't have a good update on that at the moment.
So has that also been hard for them with COVID?
Yeah, I think they had to make some pretty significant changes. And then I'm not, one of the things that's been really tough for, I think, both nonprofits and for-profits alike has been you go through all that work to close down or to comply, and then re-entry is very unclear. And it's just hard to know exactly how to do that. You have to relearn everything in order to do it under new regulations. And then as those regulations are eased or lifted, it's not like flipping a switch and just going back to what you were doing before. So I think they're running into a little bit of that. It just kind of figuring out what does reopening look like. So I don't really know what's going on with it, but that's a good reminder for me. I need to touch base with them anyways for other reasons. So I can see if I can get a hold of them and then report back to this group at some point too.
I'm just curious, some of you that are going out or, visiting some of the businesses, any thoughts on what it's been like when you've gone there, or, like what's happening out there with businesses? Takeout, delivery, to go, any of those things?
Nathan did it best. It's hard for businesses to know what they can and can't do right now, or what they should and shouldn't be doing.
I'll tell you, they're awfully grateful for when you come in and spend even the littlest dollar. The gratitude that you've come in and spent time, they're very, very grateful. And they're there whether anybody shows up or not.
That reminds me of a point I tried to make last meeting, and I don't think I did a very good job. I wonder if there's any way that we can be forward thinking about when so right now everybody's habits are to stay home and to not, they're used to ordering everything and it coming to them. And those habits are hard to break. And so what can we do when they can go back out? How can we promote? I think that Dylan hit on something earlier about just reminding people what's in Englewood and what's new, and just putting a little teaser out there for them to come back. But we're going to have to try to remind people and kind of teach people again to come back and shop.
Amy, I like that point. And to that point, Darren, do you know if we have almost like a registry of the restaurants and the type of foods that do orders? So we'd be able to distribute or put on the website somewhere here. If you're trying to shop local or eat local and support local businesses, here's a flyer that shows you by kind of food type, what's available, who delivers versus who's available for in-store pickup, just to kind of prime the pump and get people a list that they can look at if they want to support the Englewood community.
Sure, Dylan. So the city doesn't put together a list of restaurants to market them, but we do promote and we do provide information to restaurants. So we have our list that we provide. So if they need grant assistance, or when we're giving businesses information about COVID recovery resources, we have a list that we send information to the businesses. But as far as promoting those businesses, I know the chamber has a role in that. They've got a dining component. They've got a dining guide, something to that effect. And there's also, and I'm going to butcher it because I'm not that good on my toes here, but something like EnglewoodEats.com, something like that, is a new website that was launched by the marketing manager for Grow and Gather. Englewood Eats. It's going to hit me in a second here. And they have a website with a bunch of businesses that are participating, but that's voluntary and that's not all inclusive. So short answer, I think that getting the word out about Englewood restaurants, the city can play a role in that, but not an all-inclusive role. We do shine light on businesses that have participated in the grant program or whatever, but it's not the same purpose of saying dine in Englewood. That's kind of a role that chambers tend to play.
I'm just wondering, do businesses do anything on, and I'm not on it, on the Englewood Facebook, where they can do postings, because, it's pretty impossible on Nextdoor. They're being dinged, for commercial or spam. And it's something that I had tried to address with Nextdoor kind of a long while back, of being able to separate when somebody is actually promoting their business, as opposed to when they said, hey, if they were offering a coupon, and people really liked knowing about if someone was offering a deal. But that, is still a difficulty. So I was wondering, for anybody that frequents then on Facebook, have any of the businesses done postings that you know of? And can they, I guess it's probably, now that I'm thinking about it, if it's an Englewood city Facebook page, then only people could respond with comments of some sort, right? I guess I need a Facebook lesson.
Candidly, I'm the last person to talk Facebook or social media. So you and me both, Judy.
Probably
So in all seriousness though, we do try to promote our businesses as best we can for the city. We're not a chamber. We're not going to step on those toes. We can't take the place of a chamber of commerce. But there's a reason to tell stories about businesses participating with our grants, and there's a role that the businesses want to interact with the city on as well. And we want to be a resource to those businesses that need information about staying or growing and moving to the city, or how can they get information to help them grow. So that we've kind of blended that in with our Facebook posts as well. So we'll suggest basic posts, and if ACE has suggestions for businesses to profile like that in a media context, it would be good to share that out and make that known. So ACE actually this time last year came up with an idea that actually became a video series where we were working with the Chamber of Commerce to do some videos for best practices for businesses, and they were recorded, and only a handful of businesses maybe or more, couple of 8-10 people showed up, but they were viewed multiple times, a couple hundred times each video. And these were on timely information to help businesses during a time of COVID. And it was kind of a roundtable approach that came up out of an ACE discussion. So there's a role for the city and the chamber and ACE and talking and promoting businesses. There are things that we do well and things that we don't do well. Promoting individual businesses, not so good, but sharing a community story, a community interest story. And you'll see in the Citizen magazine coming up, they're going to feature an Englewood business and a couple of businesses there. So, and that's there's a community interest component to that as well. So if ACE has any suggestions for businesses to profile, I think there'd be some value there.
Darren, in my travels, and I get out all the time, so my life hasn't changed that way, but almost to a person, what people have asked me for is, where's a restaurant I can go out to for date night with my partner or husband? And I guess we missed the boat on Valentine's Day because we really didn't think that through. We weren't sure if restaurants were going to be open again, but if we were going to narrow it down to something, I think people are looking to go out, but not just completely run out the door and go out and do everything. They are targeting things like family time or spouse time or once a week, because they're still being very careful with their income and their outflow of money. So I would just throw it out there that maybe looking at restaurants that way would be a focus we could, even if it was just a flyer that we could pass out and say, these are the restaurants that are open for that date night. Think about coming and joining them, that kind of thing. Or is that just strictly a chamber thing?
So I tend to go way out to come back to the point. Sorry, I do that. We haven't been the clearinghouse for that type of information for the city. That tends to be more of a chamber function, is the bottom line. But when opportunities present themselves, we've jumped on it. And that opportunity most recently is businesses that are 5-star certified. We promote those businesses on our website. So restaurants, gyms, there's a music studio, there's a I think the martial art group, they're going to get 5-star certified. We'll promote them. When businesses were we were in the throes of COVID last year, businesses that were delivering, we worked with the chamber on a partnership to do this, and this was more chamber led than the city, but we chimed in with some financial support and otherwise to promote businesses that were offering carry out and delivery options, and it was called Time for Takeout, and that was more chamber led, but we helped with that. We put some serious staff time into supporting that. But I want to give the chamber a hat tip for doing that. So Drevis, that's a long way of saying we chime in where we can, but the chamber has taken the lead typically on stuff like that.
On that website, it's englefood.com. Is that right? Englefood, I think I saw.
Yeah,
And-
that's the name of it.
And how did you find out about that, Andrea?
Oh, I think we talked about it last meeting, and it's actually on the City of Englewood website when they're promoting businesses. It's on there.
Oh, okay. But for people that weren't, members of the chamber, and this dining guide sounds like a really good thing. I'm wondering how communication is always a difficulty, interrelationships between the different divisions, departments, and so forth, where people could be able to know how to find this information, and that's, I know, a big question. But it's good to know that the chamber has a dining guide. So maybe, I don't know, Darren, if you have a suggestion as far as giving Brad, some ideas for next month's meeting, first and foremost. If we were to, have this draft proclamation, and then also if we were to be able to have some time with Chris Hargeth, what we would want to target for his time, if he were able to dedicate like 10 or 15 minutes to our meeting.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, sorry.
I can absolutely commit to having the proclamation drafted in front of ACE. And then with the idea that that would be scheduled. And I kind of want to have a rough outline of our virtual event for May 3rd, 4th, or 5th, whenever that's going to occur. And maybe we get some ACE input there. I can't commit to other staff members attending, especially asking someone to come in to do that. But what I would suggest to here is if ACE has suggestions, that might work. Hey, have you thought of these particular businesses, and here's why. I've resisted saying which business will be out there, but it's going to be Brewability and Pizza Ability will be there. And that was a suggestion that came up because they're kind of new and they've got some gravitational pull. Wanted to be a surprise when you open your mailbox, but you pried it out of me, Judy.
That ACE members could then, toss some ideas.
Exactly.
Connections that you're making to keep Brad kind
Bingo.
of on what we talked about.
Nominate some businesses to present and why. And so instead of Chris's, and I can't commit for Chris's time. Sure. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here regardless. So what I would strongly suggest would be an idea. If ACE wants to suggest 2 or 3 or 4 businesses, or throw out a number, profile this business and why. Here's a list of businesses to profile and why. And sometimes they can be a video component to it. Sometimes there may be and it may be they may be on the list for a long time or a very short time. I put the Brewability guide on the list last fall, and we found out that they were going to be early last fall, so September. We found out they were going to be in the Citizen magazine. Again, it takes some time to kind of get into the pipeline with some of these. So the opportunity just presented itself and they were selected. So that's a long way of saying we may not have Mr. Hargeth at the next ACE meeting. Sure. We can certainly take suggestions. And it sounds like Chair Nixon is going to also reach out to a couple of businesses, perhaps for to set up a virtual tour. So there may be something on his short list that we can do by then.
Okay. We have just a few minutes left. Were there any other questions or comments from anyone regarding this agenda? Council Liaison's choice?
I really don't have anything right now, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rita. Any other comments from ACE members? Anything you wanted to share? Or? Staff's choice?
Just have one. Shelley or I could say this, but this time of year, March, is usually the time that we select a new chair and vice chair or have the vote. Last year that was put off because we had an inability to have a quorum until July. So it could be ACE's discretion on how and when to take this up. But it would, at the latest, it would need to be on the July meeting. But it's typically on the March ACE meeting. When looking back on historical ACE agendas, it's been on March. But if you wanted to push that for some reason, that wouldn't be a problem, but it would have to be done by July. There's nothing we reviewed the bylaws. There's nothing in the bylaws that say when this should occur, just that terms shall be only 2 years, consecutive years, and it's a 1-year term each.
Okay. All right, thank you. And thank you, Shelley, for all you do on behalf of all of us. If there's,
you.
take care of yourself. If there's nothing else, I guess we can adjourn this meeting. Good to see everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.